Well, what do you suppose our project is today? Yes, the dreaded kitchen faucet replacement. Yes. When the owner came to me and asked me, "Hey Joe, can you replace this kitchen faucet for me?" I've done a few in the past and I know how to do it. It's a little bit of a headache depending how old your faucet is and stuff. So I agreed to do it so that, why? So that I could bring this video to you. That's why. Now this faucet here is probably, oh, I don't know, I'm going to guess 10 years old, maybe 15 years old. And it's been dripping. And, you know, on some of them, if your faucet's only 5 years old or so, you could take this handle off, and then there's a cartridge in most of them right here that you can pull out, and then you can take to the store, match up, and replace, and maybe you can get your drip to stop. Okay, but a lot of times they don't have them in stock. You have to special order them, take it apart, put it back together, wait for it, come back, pick it up, bring it back out here, and sometimes after you replace the cartridge, you know what? Sometimes it won't stop that leak. If you have any worn parts in here, or if you don't get all the right parts and gaskets and rubber, this, that, and the other thing, you know what I mean? And sometimes if you see that it's leaking down here, maybe it's not leaking from up here, maybe it's leaking down here, and you think it's all in here, before you think about it, pull this out and see if this connection right here is tight, because sometimes this could be dripping and then you don't really notice it when you pull this on. Maybe the water's dripping in there and comes out over there. I've had that happen before, and I fixed it just like that and saved the person $250 or so for a new faucet and replacement and all that. Okay, but in this case we're going to go ahead and replace it. And what I see here, what they have is a little soap dispenser. That's kind of nifty. And here, this over here, this is an air gap for the dishwasher. We're not going to touch that. We may have to do something with that, and here's why. We're going to replace this faucet, voila, with this one right here. Water ridge. I've never really heard about a water ridge, but I pulled this apart and it looks pretty stout. And see, right here, it's got a soap dispenser attached right here on the base. And so when we have that, we're probably not going to need this, are we? And see how close this is right here? Now, the new one, hopefully it won't extend any further over into there. But if it does, we're going to have to pull this out. And overall, eventually we're going to end up pulling this out. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do that today or not. Once you pull this out, there's going to be a hole here in your sink, and then we're going to have to get a blank plate there for the right size. And I didn't get one at the store, and I don't think the owner has one either, because we're not sure what size that is until this gets pulled out of there. Okay, but they have caps there, a nice little stainless steel finished cap that goes on there that you tighten up from underneath. Okay, you ready for this project? Let's do it. Yes, we're going to get down and dirty into this cabinet sink, or the cabinet here. Now, on most cabinet doors, I don't like to just leave them open like that, because when you're crawling around down there, you hit this cabinet door. These are older cabinet doors, and see, they're only going to open so far, and I could spring this if I accidentally hit this or something. And I'm looking at the hinges. If I undo 2 screws to each hinge, each cabinet door, I can pull that off and get that out of the way. Okay, don't think you're not going to hit this, because if you do, it only takes once. Now you're going to have to fix your doors. So I'm going to unscrew those really quick and take those off. Now some cabinets, newer style, have quick release tabs on the back. And so if you have a newer style cabinets, these are probably 30 years old or so, maybe even more, you can clip it and just pop the whole thing out without undoing any screws. Okay, take a look at yours and remove your cabinet doors. That's more better. Okay, and you see how this cabinet is all nicely cleaned out? That's what you've got to do. Anything that's in your cabinet down here on the floor, remove that, wipe it out, get pipes rearranged. See, they had a little water softener in here, and I kind of pushed the pipes back up in there because I want to have this as clean as possible. And see, most cabinets, they don't have this style here in the way anymore. You just have a door closing here and another door closing over on the other side. Well, so that's going to make it a little bit difficult, so I can shimmy in there and all that. Get yourself plenty of light down there if it's kind of dark in your kitchen or whatever. And I've got a nice little construction light here, and I'm going to use that. It's going to help with the videos too anyways. And you can get one of these at the hardware store for anywhere between $15 and $20. This is a 250 watt. You can get a 500 watt bulb one as well, or 300 watt even. And that's what I'm going to use to help me with this project. Now the very first thing we have to do is we've got to locate our water lines and the gate valves. Most kitchen sinks have the gate valves under there. You see, there's one right there. You look over there, there's another one there. We're going to shut those off. You remember how to do that? Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. We're going to turn those to the right as you're facing the handle and turn those off. Okay, be careful with those. Sometimes they might feel like they're sticking right at first because some of them have a plastic neck, and if they haven't been turned for a while, it could take a little effort to do that. Hold your mouth just right, you know, and turn it off, and try to make it as snug as you can without breaking it off. I've had these snap off before. I hate working on old things, and that's another thing you've got to be careful of and realize that when you're replacing something on an older sink, faucet, kitchen, whatever, you might have other things happening later on down the road that were not leaking before, and we pull something apart and all of a sudden, look out. So be aware of that. Okay, I'm also looking around. I see another gate valve down here. See this gate valve here? But it runs a wire, nylon cable that goes right through the cabinet, and that goes over for the dishwasher. Now sometimes you don't have an extra gate valve like that. Usually you might have that attached off to your water line, and you might have a double one up here where you've got one gate valve for the sink, one for the dishwasher, or they might have both of them connected, so when you turn one gate valve off, your dishwasher won't work if your kitchen sink's off. Something like that. We also have another gate valve right here, and that's for a water softener, and I think we're going to be fine with that. Okay, I don't think I have to turn that off, but in fact that's turned off right now anyways. Okay, so once you think you have them turned off, come back up here to the sink and see what happens. Look at that, the water's still on, isn't it? I'm going to have to go down there and turn the handle a little bit tighter. Hopefully I can get that gate valve off. If I can't get the gate valve off, what are we going to do then? Well, first things first, I'll get back down here and see if I can't tighten that handle a little bit more. Now that was the first complication. There's a gate valve right here, and it's tight all the way, but it's probably 15-20 years old too. I've got it tight down as far as it'll go, and the water was still on. You don't want to tighten these up any tighter thinking, okay, the tighter I go, the more that water's going to shut off, because lots of these little necks of the arm, when you turn it, the stud that's sticking out is plastic. You turn this hard, you could snap that right off. You don't want to do that. Then you'll have to replace this. But luckily, at that point, you can't get it turned off. You're going to have to find your gate valve. your main water line that comes into your house. It's going to be around your house somewhere. You're going to have to find that and shut it off. And then open up your sink and see if it's going to, see if it's stopped. We open this up. No water now, okay? Yeah. Because if you don't know where your gate valve is outside, guess what? You're probably not going to be able to do this job until you figure out where that is. So if you want to do some prep work before you replace your sink faucet, you can turn these handles off and make sure everything works properly. You know, the water goes off before getting ready to actually do your actual project. Okay. Now here's something else we found, that when I turn that sink faucet on, you've got this water, the extension pipe here that goes from the gate valve up to the sink faucet, and that was dripping out of here, running down here and dripping down on the floor. Okay, it's already a little bit wet, and I'm hoping it might be because of the actual threads up here, and hopefully it's dripping from there running down, because I saw it dripping from this little point here. It could have been running on the back side, hitting this knuckle right here, and then dripping off this pipe. Maybe it's because there's no Teflon tape on the threads, but we'll address that after I install the faucet. Chances are, if it's still dripping, guess what? I'm gonna have to go to the store and get a new water line like this one here. Okay, so the next step, we've got to disconnect these two pipes right here, and you're just going to disconnect the nut, unscrew the nut at the bottom. If you notice on the top, this is a brass fitting that's on threads that's attached to a little copper stud that goes up to your faucet. And what you have to do is you have to hold on to that with a pair of pliers before you loosen up the bottom, because sometimes what happens if you try to loosen up the bottom, it just starts twisting this copper pipe up above. Okay, so that's going to be our next step. I'll have to get a couple wrenches and get back in there, and hopefully you can see what I'm going to do. But you know, there's only so much I can show on the picture like this, but I'll do the best I can. But you get the idea, don't you? I think you do.